Love lives here.
I love that song. What's not to love about it? And the lyrics, if you listen closely, the lyric says, lift every voice and sing. That is a celebration song for a journey, our journey that we take together. So yes, today's talk title is We Get There Together. So how do we get there? So if we're going somewhere together, how do we get there? Well, we don't get there because we started in the same place, because none of us started in the same place. Not because we've traveled the same roads. We've traveled very different roads in our lives. But because there's only one life, and we remember that one life, and when we remember that one life, then I can see you and you can see me as what we say, divine emanations of spirit, that one life. And so I want to take you on a little journey with me. And so to get a glimpse of another beloved community that I came across. This is our beloved community here. But Dara and I recently, we took a vacation. And we took a cruise. First we went to Orlando, then we got on a cruise ship, then we spent some time in New York City. But what I thought it was going to be a simple vacation. You know, I get a chance to rest and relax. But it turned out that it was something more, than I thought, that I could even imagine. Every day I witnessed thousands of people walking this road of life on the ship, different races, people speaking different languages, different cultures, and even different generations. We ate together, we laughed together at the comedy club, we danced together at the parties on the ship, and I'm sure, Daryl and I watched the sunset, but other people were watching the sunset as well. And so it was very, very peaceful and very, very, everybody was being their best selves. And so I thought to myself, I said, you know what if the world beyond this ship could be this peaceful, this special, this united, this laughing together? And so I began to contemplate that. And I'm thinking of a world that's peaceful, not perfect, but peaceful. And I thought to myself, maybe beyond this community, maybe beyond what I thought in my own mind about this idea of peace and this idea of love, maybe in community, maybe we've already tasted a taste of it. Some point in our life, we've tasted this peacefulness. We've tasted peace and harmony between people. And so some of the things that happened on the cruise, like we pulled into this Celebration Key, I think it's called, and another ship pulled in. And as we were pulling out, they were standing on the deck waving at us, and we were standing on the deck waving at them. I mean, it was really exciting. And then we would go down, of course, in each port we got off the ship, and we visited the community, and we took tours. And meeting different people, we laughed together. They had those shakers, maracas, and we were shaking our maracas on the bus, and we got to hear the story of this island and the people of this island. And so it was a beautiful experience on this ship. So it was changing me inside to not have such a narrow view, but to expand myself, expand my consciousness, you know? And so the cruise ship, but as every cruise ship, it must come to an end. But before it came to an end, I want to walk you through what happened. A sacred pause took place. it was 6 a.m. in the morning. And at 6 a.m. in the morning, the ship is already kind of quiet anyway. But there was a silence that came over me, and I felt the ship when we entered New York Harbor. It was 6 in the morning. No coffee cups, no pastries. Just wrapped in my robe. And as we entered the harbor, I imagine other people were on their balcony. And the ship was quiet. And my conversation with him softened. And there stood before us was the Statue of Liberty. And she was illuminated, majestic, and still. And so for that moment, all the differences disappeared in my mind. And it moved me of the majesty that I was witnessing. And I imagine on the ship as other people stood in awe that it wasn't about black or white. It wasn't about Democrat or Republican. It was simply about humanity. And it was a beautiful thing that I felt. And so now time for the debarkment. And we landed in Manhattan. And the peace went away. Horns, crowds, urgency to get here and there. We got off the ship about 9:30. About 9:30, so it wasn't right at 6 or 7 or 8. We got off the ship about 9:30. And boom, the explosion of Manhattan came into view, and cars rushing around, and horns blowing, and crowds, and the urgency of it all, and the organized chaos of it all. And I imagine to myself that everybody's carrying something, a dream, maybe, a responsibility, a prayer, and maybe even a burden that's heavy on them. But they were all doing life just as is for them. And so what I notice about New York City is somehow in all that chaos, it works. It works. And so then the idea, because this is supposed to be Juneteenth Sunday, and it is for us, Juneteenth Sunday on the 14th. Then Juneteenth entered my heart because we passed Ellis Island as well. And I began to think about the people that came here and the people that came with hope in their hearts for a new beginning, the families that came and landed at Ellis Island. But when I thought of Juneteenth, I thought of not everyone came seeking opportunities. Some arrived in chains. Just think about that for a moment. And so it brings me back to Juneteenth and the significance of that. Because 250,000 people didn't get the proclamation of freedom for 2.5 years. So freedom was delayed, but freedom was finally delivered. And still, after this, still they rose. They built, they prayed, they educated, they celebrated, they contributed. So freedom isn't merely announced, it's practiced. And resilience is spiritual power. Spiritual power. And so the truth is, in that silent whisper, is that no man, no human, whatever expression, is an island. And Ernest Holmes taught that there is one life. That life is God. That life is perfect. And that life is my life now. That same life in me lives in every aspect of every person that I saw and that I see here. It lives in us, all of us. The same spirit that sustained my ancestors, your ancestors, sustains us now. Because what we believe is that we are not separate. We believe in the unity of all life. We are expressions of the one life. My freedom is bound up with yours. My dignity with yours. My healing with yours. Which means that we're interconnected. It's not just about me, it's about everyone. When we bind freedom, we bound ourselves. So I just wanted to share that with you because the invitation in this world is we want a world that works for everyone. At least that's what we say. A world that works for everyone, not just some people. So this is not just history. It's our calling. It's our calling. And CSL Global Vision is we envision all people, all beings, and all life as expressions of God. Right? We envision a world in which we live and grow and as one global family. We envision a world that works for everyone and for all of creation. So how do we get there? We get there first by spiritual practice. We get there first by remembering who we are. We get there first by listening before judging. We get there first for asking for help when you need it and offering help to others. We get there by choosing compassion, by speaking dignity in yourself and everyone you meet, by continuing to build a beloved community outside these walls, outside your home, outside your immediate family. We allow this community, this idea of beloved community, to ripple through us and walk with us in this world. That's how we practice freedom, because we free others from whatever it is. If I can tell my story, that allows someone else to tell theirs. If I can share, if I can be listened to, and then in fact give someone else the opportunity to be heard without judgment. Freedom is not merely remembered, it's practiced again. We practice it. And so as the cruise and my vacation ended, the question was, what spirit will I carry back into my world after the vacation? What spirit will I carry back into the world? Will I return to fear and separation, maybe? Will we, everybody on the ship, everybody, will we return back to fear if we have any fears? If we feel like we're separate, will we return to that? Or will we carry the sacred hush that came over the harbor into the noise of our everyday life? That still small voice within us. Will we carry and listen to that still small voice within us? We get there together. And so right now, I'm going to have you go to your tables, and there are some questions on your table. Finally, what I want to say is 6 a.m. was a holy moment for me. And it was a threshold between what was and what will be. And so the ship was a representation of a beloved community. And Lady Liberty at dawn became a sacred pause where Spirit spoke or was speaking. And then Manhattan became the real world that we're called to serve in all the chaos of our lives, in all the going and coming and to and fro and all of that. The idea of Manhattan and the organized chaos there became for me the real world that I'm called to serve, whatever it looks like. And then Juneteenth becomes that courage to practice freedom, the courage to practice freedom once we, as a group, remember that freedom is ours. It always has been. And then for the science of mind tells us, because the why is, we always say, what is your why? So the why in this is because there is only one life. And so it is. All right. Thank you. So the spiritual practice for this week is to practice the sacred dance of both giving and receiving. So allow someone the gift of support this week and offer help at least once this week. Reach out with a helping hand, a listening ear, and a word of encouragement or simple act of kindness, and ask for help yourself if you need it. So that is the homework for this week. And so I just invite the practitioners, the leadership council, to come around and just flank the sanctuary for this prayer. And so I'm taking a deep breath. I'm taking a deep breath, and I'm knowing and affirming that there's only one life. That life is God. That life lives in and through me. It lives in and through everyone. That life is love. And as we begin to remember the love that we are, because Spirit is only love, everlasting love. We recognize the divine in each and every person we meet because we know that they're divine emanations of Spirit. And we allow freedom to ring within us, as us, giving rise to what is possible for everyone else. When we remember that we're not separate from the one, we're all part of the one. And when we embrace our shared humanity, it might look like chaos. But there is a spirit that dwells in you that has never been harmed or hurt in any way. And so we just allow the remembrance of that and the freedom of that to come forth and come through us so we can radiate it out in the world. We can't go into our hiding places and hide. We have to step off the ship and step into the world. And so I just know and allowing us the freedom to do that. We celebrate this Juneteenth. We celebrate freedom. We celebrate freedom in our own lives. We celebrate the choices to let go of fear and embrace compassion, embrace love. We choose community over isolation, and we practice, and we heal. And with all that, this is how we get there together, because together we rise, and so it is. And so truly, our affirmation is a reflection of what was talked about today and what we all know to be true. And so I'm going to say it once, and then let's say it together. Together we rise. And that has been the Riverside Center for Spiritual Living motto. That's our mantra. Together we rise. So let's say it together. Together we rise. All right, everybody. Happy Sunday. Something wonderful is happening through me right now. It is this thing called love. Love is in my mind. Love is in my body. Love is in everything I do. I am it. I share it. I receive it. And I move love forward because love lives here. Happy Sunday, everyone.